Hi guys, welcome to our daily encounter. One of the arguments against the existence of God is called the hiddenness of God. That is, why is God so hidden? Why doesn't God just appear to everybody and therefore everyone would believe? And there are various arguments that could be given in connection to this or in defense of the hiddenness of God. But two of them are found in our text today in John chapter 7. And it's in connection to the way in which Jesus interacted with the people, how he dealt with the Feast of Tabernacles that was going on at the time, and in the way that he responds to his brothers in connection to this, because it's really them that really bring this out, although it's also found in the crowd in Jerusalem later on. Here in John chapter 7 and verse 3, we see this brought out. It says, "Therefore his brothers said to him, 'Leave here and go into Judea, so that your disciples also may see your works which you are doing. For no one does anything in secret while he himself seeks to be known publicly. If you do these things, show yourself to the world.'" They're wondering why Jesus won't go into Judea, why he won't go into Jerusalem, and publicly show himself for what he truly is. Why is he remaining in Galilee? Why is he hiding out? Just go to Jerusalem and display your power, your greatness, and your miracles. And this is similar to the argument that is made in connection to the hiddenness of God. For no one does anything in secret when he himself seeks to be known publicly. Why doesn't God just reveal himself publicly to everybody if he wants to be known to everybody? He says, if you do these things, show yourself to the world. And that's also the argument. Why doesn't God just show himself to the world? And there's basically two answers to this objection by his brothers. And we could also say to the hiddenness of God. Actually, one directly towards his brothers, and then one in connection to how Jesus's presence is manifested in Jerusalem later on. But one of the arguments that could be given in connection to the hiddenness of God, and that Jesus brings out in connection to this objection by his brothers, is that the timing isn't quite right yet. In verse 6, Jesus said to them, "My time is not yet here, but your time is always opportune. The world cannot hate you, but it hates me because I testify of it that its deeds are evil. Go up to the feast yourselves. I do not go up to the feast because my time has not yet fully come." And having said these things to them, he stayed in Galilee. Basically saying, it's not my time to go up to the feast. You guys can go. Your time is always ready. No one's seeking your life, wanting to kill you. But I have to follow a particular timeline. I have an itinerary to follow in connection to these things. And I have to be careful in the way that I reveal myself. And this is one of the answers that Jesus gives towards his brother in connection to why is he being so hidden. And it's also an answer that could be given in connection to why is God so hidden. And the answer is that God will reveal himself in his own time. That God has a timeline right now so that he can test us. He can call us into a life of faith and trusting in his word, trusting in what he has revealed through his creation. God has a time in which he wants people to walk by faith. But then there will be the time in which he will reveal himself. The scriptures are very clear that there's going to be a time in which Jesus comes in the clouds. Just in the way that he ascended into the heavens, he will also come down out of the heavens, and all the nations will see him, and he will be revealed to all. Every knee will bow and every tongue confess. And one day, Jesus will be fully manifested to the world. One day, God will be fully manifested to everyone, especially at the time of the resurrection, but also one by one as people die and therefore have to meet God. There is a time when God will reveal himself, but it's according to his time and not according to our time. So that's the first answer that could be given. The second answer that could be given in connection to the hiddenness of God, and it's brought out in the story here, is that just because he's hidden doesn't mean that he doesn't exist or that he isn't present. In verse 9, continuing on in verse 10, it says, "But when his brothers had gone up to the feast, then he himself also went up, not publicly, but as if in secret." So the Jews, verse 11, were seeking him at the feast. And we're saying, where is he? There was much grumbling among the crowds concerning him. Some were saying he is a good man. Others were saying, no, on the contrary, he leads the people astray. Yet no one was speaking openly of him for fear of the Jews. And so he went up to the feast, but it was secretly. In other words, he was present there in Jerusalem, even though the people didn't know it. They were saying, where is he? But he was there. And just because people are saying today, where is he? If God exists, then where is he? Why isn't he showing up? Why don't we see him? It doesn't mean that he's not actually there. Just because you don't see somebody is present doesn't mean that they're not present. And it doesn't automatically exclude the possibility that they exist and that they are present. And that's true with God as well. Even though we don't see him, even though we may not physically see him with our eyes, and even to do so would probably cause us all to perish because these fragile bodies couldn't bear the glory of God. But even if we, just because we can't see God's presence doesn't mean that he's not there. And he can be here, and he's among us. He's always watching over us and walking beside us. Even though it's in a hidden and secretive way, he's still there, and he's very present. And we have the evidence of his presence in other ways besides just physically seeing him, as we experience him intuitively, as we experience him through the way that he's revealed himself in creation, as we see him revealed in the way that he's working in our lives. There's other ways that he reveals himself, even though we don't physically see him. But even if we didn't have all those other things, still, it wouldn't exclude the possibility of him existing just because we don't experience those things or see him. And so we should not be discouraged by the fact that we don't see God. The people in Jerusalem at first didn't see Jesus. The brothers didn't understand why Jesus wouldn't reveal himself. But we have to remember that just as Jesus had his own timeline, and just as Jesus was present even though he wasn't seen, the same thing is true with God. Even though we would like him to show up right now, today, he's acting according to his own timeline. One day he will be fully manifested to us. And then secondly, he is present. Even though we don't see him, he is always there around us. And we can always trust in the fact that he is near us and that he sees everything that we're going through, even though we may not visibly and physically see him. So these are some things we can reflect on and think about as we do our reading today. And with that, guys, I do thank you for watching the video today. Hope you guys have a great day. Love you guys. God bless.